All right, my friends, in this video, I'm going to anneal 102 pieces of 556 Lake City brass. And I'm going to use the new EP 2.0 Annealer case feeder add-on kit for the XL750 Dillon case feeder. Now, this can easily handle well over 500 pieces. If you've seen that previous video on our channel, definitely check that out. It goes in full depth of how to use this, why you should use this. It goes from 300 blackout to 556, 30-30, 308, 7mm, and it goes clear up to 338 Lapua. And just to let you know, if you haven't seen that video, check out the description box below. But this can adjust from 300 blackout clear up to 338 Lapua on the case feeder add-on kit, and the annealer can adjust from 5.7 by 28 all the way up to 50 BMG. But at least in the reloading process, at least for me, first step is always decapping. So let's quickly get this done before we jump into annealing. So this is Lake City 556, and this has crimped primer pockets. Always in the first step of the reloading process, you should knock out those primers. I like to personally use the FW Arms auto centering decapper. Just make sure you're inspecting, your primers. Once at a blue moon, believe it or not, some people, they anneal live primers and definitely don't want to do that. So anyway, let's get this done and move on to annealing. What do you guys think of the sexy pajamas? All right, so here's the 102 pieces of 556 Lake City brass we just decapped. And here's also my test brass. I have annealed this, I don't know how many times, I've lost track. This has been over annealed. I keep on reusing it. The reason why I'm using this test brass, you're about to see this here in a little bit, is I use this test brass to position the torch and the amount of time that the brass is in the flame. So when I switch over to my actual reloaded brass that I'm about to anneal, I don't destroy that first piece, and you're about to see that here in a little bit. Now, our annealers comes with a very high quality Burns-O-Matic pencil tip style torch. And at least for us, what we like to do with the glow method is, say like this is the flame coming out of the torch. I just put the torch on max. Say like this is the inner hotter blue Corona flame. At least get that so the tip of that flame is just barely touching the brass, like just licking the brass. And I get it, that tip of that flame to point exactly where the neck meets the shoulder. So just like that. And then I also have about 1/4 of an inch of the main body of the brass sticking out past the drum face. And I'm about to show that to you here in a little bit. Now the EP 2.0 Annealer comes with everything you need to anneal. Obviously the annealer, the pan, the power supply, the torch head, you name it, everything you need other than the blue propane tank here. Come with a tank holder that is set up for the blue style tank. Now we do sell large style tank holders if you happen to be using a camp style, green style tank. But just to let you know, right out of the gate, you're ready to anneal. We also have the EP 2.0 Annealer combo kit where you can buy it with the case feeder add-on kit. And it saves you almost about 20 bucks. If you are gonna start right out of the gate with a case feeder, especially the Dillon XL, it only works with the Dillon, doesn't work with anything else. It's a really good savings. Now currently we are selling the case feeder add-on kit on the website. It's live, ready to purchase. As long as you have the updated case EP 2.0 Annealer that has elongated feet. Currently it does not work with the old style hobby case that we used to have. We started out with this hobby case initially, and we had the drill holes in it, put ballast weight in it, and it just took way too much time, and it was actually too expensive. By switching over to our own cases that are now laser cut in Wisconsin, not only were we able to save you, the customer, a tremendous amount of money, we're able to knock $40 off the annealer. Initially it was $279, and we lowered it to $239. We had this in mind that we're eventually going to do this. It just took obviously some time to develop. But currently this case feeder add-on kit is currently just working with this style case. So if you're about to purchase this, you already have the annealer. It only works with this case. Now, if you happen to have the annealer already and it doesn't have the pre-drilled holes on the side, we are going to sell along with this kit a jig that you can clip on the side of the corner that will perfectly locate those holes with you with the perfect size drill bit. It's really crucial that you use this. You can't be just drilling holes willy-nilly. It has to be absolutely perfect, and that will get those holes perfectly located for you, because for this to function, that needs to happen. Now, this is the adjustable shuttle. If you haven't seen that previous video on our website, like I said, check out that video. It goes into great depth on all of this. But this is a 2-piece adjustable shuttle. And I'm just going to set that to the side right now. Before I adjust this shuttle, I need to get the annealer set up. Now, currently, this is set up for 338 LAPA, as in that previous video. We're going to switch this over in seconds to 223 or 556. So in order to accomplish that, what I like to do is temporarily adjust what we call the stopper bar, and I'll just put it something like that, and then I'll screw this out. And at least with our name of the game here is we like to try and get at least 1/4 of an inch of the main body of the brass before it meets the shoulder to stick out past the drum. And this should be just about perfect, right about there. So I'll lock that down, and this is called the adjustable shim plate. This is called the brass stopper, so I'll put it right about there. Try to essentially locate it on the body of the brass, leaving a little bit of a gap here. And then I will rotate this drum around until the opening is just in line with the fence, and then I'll adjust the fence so the back side of the fence here is just in front of the adjustable shim plate. So probably something just about right there. Let's test this out quick. So let's make sure it functions properly with maybe 3 or 4 pieces. Now that I have this adjusted, now we can move on to adjusting the case feeder. So this is where I'm going to snap this into place. All right, so what I like to do is just adjust this all the way down until the bottom of the shuttle touches the fence here, and I'll lock that down temporarily, and then I'll just start manually feeding this. Now, right out of the gate, it looks like it's pretty much good to go. But what I like to do, and let me try and zoom you in here, is I try to get this inside face of the shuttle just to the right of the drum. Now, in order to accomplish that, let me take this one piece of brass out. Let me zoom this back out. You can spin this left and right. This side of the shuttle face just to the right of the drum. Let me just lock this down. I'm going to zoom this back out. And I kind of mentioned this in the previous video. There's a reason why we put a 90-degree corner on the shuttle. And the reason why we do that is it gives it a nice face for this to ride on once it drops out of the shuttle. So let me clip this back in. And I'm going to manually feed another piece of brass here. I'll zoom this out so you can see the entire show. So you can see that kind of got hung up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this up until it falls off the end of the fence. So right there, and that should be just about perfect. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to manually feed another one. Manually feed another one. Manually feed another one. I think to this point, I feel like it's good to go. Now this shuttle will transfer any piece of brass from 300 blackout to 338 LAPA, rim or no rim, it doesn't matter. At least for 223 in smaller cases like 300 blackout, you're really going to utilize this 90-degree corner face. When you start getting into the really large cartridges above 308, it's going to more drop out of the casing, and the spinning drum will suck it into the drum. And you'll see that here on the next video that I'm about to do on 308. But at least for 223, this is the name of the game to get it set up really quick. Now, if you're not new to the Dillon XL750 case feeder, make sure you're reading your instructions on this first, especially the clutch instructions. Make sure you have your clutch set up just right. You want to set up your clutch so it's not so tight that if you get a jam that the motor can't spin and it burns out your motor, but not so loose that the plate inside doesn't spin. I'm about to show that to you in a little bit. But there is this one page, and this on page 9, and you'll notice here, at least on, where is that? 223 Winchester right here. It's saying to use the small rifle plate, and you're going to use the number 3 slot. And you're going to notice up here that they're these little notches, and they're telling you to use the third notch. So 1, 2, 3, at least for 2, 2, 3, or 5, 5, 6. At least that's the name of the game. And right now I have the small rifle plate. So this is the small rifle plate to kind of show you what this looks like. And I'll put this back in. There is the large rifle plate, but at least for this, it's telling me to use this plate. We'll adjust this, and you want to adjust this up or down. And, you know, obviously the smaller the case, you want to adjust this down. The bigger the case, you want to adjust this up. And the reason why is if there's two stacked on top of each other, this knocks the additional one off. But you don't want this so low that, you know, pieces start getting jammed in here. And this is kind of where you got to play with this for a little while until you get the method to the madness. And once you've done this a few times, trust me, it's really easy. And make sure you're checking out the video if you're getting this for the first time. The previous video we posted right before this one, it will tell you how to get this all installed, adjusted, so that this is running smooth for you. I'm not going to do that right now because if I did, this would be a whole extra 15-20 minute long video. But if you're just getting this and you're seeing this video for the first time, make sure you're checking out that video. All right, so the annealer is set, the shuttle is set, case plate here is set, window is set, adjustment of this up and down is set. We are good to go. So this is where I'm going to take my brass and just drop it in here. That's where this is awesome. You know, I said this before, if I have a hopper or a single feed fence, I could really care less. If I have to physically pick up that brass, orientate it piece by piece into a hopper or a single feed fence, I could really care less. What I want is a case feeder, where I can literally throw handfuls of brass and this is going to orientate it and feed it for me. And that's why not only does this annealer shine, and I can adjust literally in less than 30 seconds from 5.7 by 28 to 50 BMG, rim or no rim, it doesn't matter. This, on the case feeder add-on kit, will adjust from 300 blackout to 338 LAPO. That's a huge range. Covers pretty much 95% of most cases that guys are going to reload. And that's why I think this entire system for less than $300 without the Dillon case feeder itself really is the best option on the market right now for flame-based annealers. Now, this is at least my method. What I like to do, at least with the glow method, is I'll just get, you know, maybe 4 pieces. I'll put them down here, leave the rest up here. You're going to see why I got these 4 pieces. I'm going to set this to the side and get my test brass. I'm going to use this test brass to get the position of the torch head and the speed going so it's remotely close within maybe 1 or 2 digits on the LED readout. And then I'm going to swap that out for the actual first couple pieces and see how that is running on the glow method, and I might have to adjust that ever so slightly, and then that's where I'm going to turn this on and just let it do its thing. Now if you want, just for a little bit, maybe 5 pieces, you know, just let it run for a little bit for maybe 4 or 5 pieces. Make sure it's, you know, running smoothly through the case feeder right now. And right now I feel it's running absolutely perfect. Now, some people use Tempolac, some people use the glow method, some people use whatever method. It's your method, something you need to figure out. I'm not going to go into that in full detail right now, but at least for us, we use the glow method. And for me, I got something set up so where I can at least dim down the lights to check out the glow. I don't want it so dark in here that I can't see what the heck I'm doing. The lights to dim down so I can physically see the glow. I personally like to leave my press light on so I can marginally see what I'm doing, but at least get it dark enough to see the glow. But obviously I don't want to cut the power off to the annealer and the case feeder. So at least for me, that's what I like to do. This is something that you're going to have to figure out whether you want to use Tempolac or the glow method. But there's a reason why I use the glow method, because it's quick, easy. In my opinion, it works. Now you can see here I have, you know, roughly about 1/4 of an inch of the body of the brass sticking out past the drum face. That pretty much goes for whatever you're annealing. Usually what I usually shoot for, at least, you know, I get that question all the time. How much should stick out? Well, that's how much sticks out. All right, so I'm going to get my actual reloaded brass out of here. You can notice that this is running now. So I'm going to turn this off, set this to the side, and switch over to my test brass. I personally like to keep some Lyman pliers around just in case I need to adjust this since it's super red hot, which is ultra rare, but it doesn't hurt to have these laying around. Not going to need them, but just in case. Propane tank, make sure it's full. I just put this on max. I'll let this run for a little bit. After about 30 seconds, I can get this going. So remember, I'm going to start out with my test brass, not the physical reloaded brass I'm about to anneal that's in the hopper already, and there's a select few pieces that I have set off to the side. You'll see that here for a little bit. At least for setting this up initially with the torch, first thing out of the gate is positioning the torch. Now you're going to move this around and you're going to spin this in order to get this essentially located, like I mentioned earlier, where the hotter blue inner corona flame. You can notice that the very tip of that flame, shoulder and the neck meet. Not to the point where it's, you know, physically touching, but damn near touching. At least when I'm starting out with positioning the torch, I'll purposely lower this way down. And I don't care if this gets super blazing red hot. It's test brass. It's already destroyed. This has been over annealed a billion times. Physically, manually drop this into place. And then when you can see, I lower this down so it gives me time to adjust this flame position. So when this gets into position, I'm going to adjust this. And about right there, I'd say that's just about perfect. You see that's smoking red hot. I'm going to grab another piece. And once you've done this a few times, it usually takes about, you know, roughly 2 to 3 pieces of test brass. All right, so that's about perfect. That's where I'm going to dim my lights. So I'm going to dim the light so I can see the glow. So I'm going to drop another piece of test brass. And the name of the game is I get it so the neck and the shoulder just starts to glow. And I'm actually going to clip you out of here. I'm going to try my best to do this with a camera. So I'm going to drop this one piece. It's going to go down the tube and the shuttle. And just as it starts to glow and drops out. Now that is way too hot. I'm going to grab another piece here, and I'm going to lower, speed this up, increase it. I want it to be in the flame less, so I'm going to increase this up to about 39. And I want it to drop out the second the neck and the shoulder starts to glow and drops out. That's about perfect. I'm going to lower this down to about 38. Grab another piece of test brass here, drop it manually. And starts to glow and drops out. That's about perfect. So that's where I'm going to now take my super red hot test brass, set that to the side. I'm going to now switch over to my actual reloaded brass, and I'm going to test a couple of these pieces. So, and we're going to see if there's any difference. So it just starts to glow and drops out, and that's about perfect. I'm going to do one more piece, and I think we're good. And like I said, once you've done this a few times, it's super easy. You can actually see the laser from the sensor on the case, and that's about perfect. This is where I am going to take the rest of this, drop it in the hopper. I'm going to turn my light back on, and that's where I'm just going to give her hell. And that's where I turn this on. And let me zoom out here. Let's see if I can get a better view here for you guys. You can see we're getting some nice anneal marks on there. The anneal mark's exactly 1/4 of an inch down the body of the brass. Wow, you can see that one's got a bad dent in it. I'm going to have to throw that one away. But let me zoom in here just a little bit more. And right there it drops out. Look at that anneal mark. 1/4 of an inch down the body of the brass. Nice rainbow glow. That is absolutely perfect. So I'm going to let this run for a little bit. Now the key is you got to have this set at the 9 o'clock mark. Maybe just a little bit over, at least for 223 and under. You want to set this at roughly 9 o'clock. Right where the arrow is pointing at that little circle, maybe just a little bit past. But you can kind of see here, kind of see how this adjusts. Now these are going rear end first. Let me purposely grab one here and put it case mouth first, and you're going to see how this orientates it. See that one dropped off? And that's how it works, and why this is so slick. Now you can see that inner hotter corona flame is just licking the brass. So I personally don't like it to physically touch. I personally think you get what's called hot spots. And I get it so it's just barely licking or touching the brass. And that's why we use this specific pencil tip torch head. And once again, it's just awesome. I absolutely love this annealer. The fact that it's so easy to swap over from, at least the annealer itself, 5.7 by 28 to 50 BMG, and this case feeder add-on kit can switch from 300 blackout to 338 lava. That's a huge range. And the fact that it can do it without tools and adjust in seconds, that's where the EP 2.0 Annealer really shines. Now you can see here that there's a light in here. It comes on and off, and what's that saying is, hey, this relay switch, this sensor, when it senses brass, it shuts the power off. The power comes from the supplied Dillon power supply. It's a 44 volt 1 amp system, and it hooks up to our wire harness here that has a female plug-in that this plugs into. And when it senses brass, it shuts the power off. When it doesn't sense brass, it lets the power flow through to the annealer. And this is confirmed with the LED light here on the relay switch. And that power comes through, gets stopped, turns on, flows through, and then stops again. And it's just simplicity at its finest. And it's just phenomenal how this works. You can see this LED light coming on and off. And I know some people might be concerned that, you know, the heat coming off the torch might melt this 3D printed shuttle. It's not a problem at all. I can keep my finger here all day long, and just to prove points, you know, obviously I wouldn't be able to do this. I would be nothing but blisters right now if that was an issue. But you can see the nails coming off of this. I mean, they are just insanely consistent. They're all perfectly a quarter of an inch on the body of the brass. And the brass will show anneal marks differently. If you just freshly cleaned and washed brass, especially in a stainless steel washer, if you just dried it and tried to anneal it, it won't show these super deep, rich anneal marks. This brass was cleaned probably 2 years ago. It's been sitting around and oxidizing for 2 years. And this, because it's oxidized, the anneal process will show this super gorgeous anneal mark with the rainbow and everything everyone's looking for in an anneal mark. And that's why this specific brass is showing that amazing anneal. But if I was to use this same brass and wash it for some time, it would not show that deep, rich anneal mark. It's not saying it's not annealed. It's definitely annealed just the same amount. But because it's just been freshly cleaned, especially with a wet stainless steel tumbler like this, It will show somewhat of a nail mark, but not much. So looks like we got not much left here. But I'm going to count out this next piece of brass. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. So about 5 seconds. I'm going to count this next one. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1. So pretty much 5 seconds, at least on 38. Now, this is only a percentage of power going to the motor. You can either call it 38% of power or 38% of speed. This LED display, all it's doing is telling you if you're adjusting the speed up or down. That's all it's doing. Next time I do annealing, it might, you know, be 36. It might be 37 because the flame is a little bit closer, a little bit further away. Maybe I'm a little lower on propane or whatever. I let the glow tell me when it needs to come out of the flame. I don't write this down. I keep a mental note. It's going to be somewhere in the 30s. The next time I do this, it might be just a little bit different. But, man, look at some of these annealers. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm actually going to turn on the main light here. And we're getting down to the end here. So if it's taking roughly, you know, 5 to 6 seconds, let's just say in the worst case scenario, 6 seconds per anneal, we're doing 100. 100 times 6 is 600. 600 divided by 60, that's 10 minutes for every 100 pieces of annealed brass. And man, just look at that gorgeous anneal develop on that brass. It's perfect. Everything is consistent, and that is the name of the game when it comes to annealing. It's about the word consistency. At least for EP integrations or what I do, I anneal every single time because that ensures that it's going to be consistent. We're down to the last 2 pieces. And that's it. That's the last one. And without missing a single piece of brass, without any issue, you guys seeing it unedited? That's why I have a hopper where you could have a case feeder. Just set that off to the side. Usually what I like to do is just let that cool. Shut this off. And some of these are blazing red hot, so I'm just going to miscellaneously grab... Ooh, that's warm. Ugh, some of these are smoking red hot. I mean, have some miscellaneous pieces here just to show you how consistent these anneal marks. This one's going to have to get thrown away for sure. But just to show how consistent, and these are just randomly picked. So you just seen all this live. That is the name of the game. Exactly 1/4 of an inch down on the major anneal to the rainbow glow starts. And that's what I call a perfect anneal. Templac or not, using the glow method, guarantee you if I was to use this in an amp, that anneal would look exactly the same. And that's why I think you need to use some type of machine to strategically get that brass in and out of the flame, because it's all about the word consistency. And my opinion, you cannot do it by hand. Some guys think they can do it by hand with a drill and you know, whatever, socket, wrench, whatever. And it only takes less than a half a second to not make it a consistent anneal. Or you got the flame too close or too far away because you're doing it by hand. You physically need some type of machine. And when you're going to do it, especially with a machine, get something like this, the EP Toy Annealer, that can adjust in seconds without having to add or remove any wheels, parts, just in seconds. You guys seen it all live. This is what it's all about. So make sure you're checking out our website, www.epintegrations.com. These are ready to go. And just make sure you're getting the Dillon XL750 case feeder. And I'll have links in the below, at least where we got this off of Amazon. We use this small plate, 223 and under, and anything over that, like 308 and above, we use the large rifle plate. On Amazon, we at least started with Dillon XL750 with the small rifle plate, and then I bought the large rifle plate separately. Hopefully you got something out of this video. I love proving points. And when it gets this amazing, my friends, I might be a little biased, but in my opinion, this is the best annealer, especially for the price point on the market today. I'll see you guys in the next video.